Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another exciting episode of the number one English podcast. I'm Emily.
And I'm John. How are you doing today, Emily?
Feeling fantastic, John. I'm really enthusiastic about our topic today. It's something many English learners struggle with.
Absolutely. The idea for this episode actually came from a recent chat I had with a friend. He's been putting in a lot of effort to improve his English skills, but he said, John, I learned so many new words, but they just don't stay in my head. And I thought, if he's experiencing that, then surely lots of other learners are too.
For sure. We've all been in that situation where we study a word only to have it completely vanish when we try to use it. But the good news is, we're going to help you fix that.
That's right. If you're finding it difficult to retain new vocabulary, you've come to the right place. This episode is loaded with methods and tricks to make vocabulary stick in your memory.
And hey, if you're excited to learn how to finally keep those new words in your brain, don't forget to hit that like button and share this podcast with your friends. Let's make learning enjoyable and effective for everyone.
Couldn't agree more. We're turning the problem of forgetting vocabulary into a fun challenge. So sit back and get ready. You're about to learn techniques that might change the way you study English.
Let's jump right into it. So, John, was there ever a word you just couldn't remember when you were first learning English?
Oh, definitely. One that used to escape me all the time was inevitable. I understood what it meant. Something bound to happen. But whenever I tried to say it, my mind would just go blank.
Oh, yes, I know the feeling. It's incredibly annoying when you're about to say something and the word just disappears from your brain. I'm sure many of our listeners can relate.
The silver lining is that there are smart ways to make those words stick. And that's exactly what we're covering today. How to lock those difficult words into your long-term memory.
If you've ever felt like vocabulary just drifts away after you learn it, stay with us. We've got practical, tested techniques coming your way. Oh, and before we continue, remember that we've created a free downloadable PDF for this episode. It includes every strategy we'll talk about today. Just follow the link in the description.
It's a great companion guide, especially if you want to follow along or review the tips later on. Now, let's dive into our very first technique.
One of the most powerful methods for remembering vocabulary is learning it through context.
Totally. Trying to memorize words in isolation, like a long list, just doesn't work for most people. But if you see or hear the word used naturally, like in a story or a show, it sticks better.
Exactly. It's like learning to bake by watching a video instead of just reading the recipe. When you hear a word used in real life, it becomes more meaningful.
For example, I once came across the word serene in a novel where a peaceful lake was being described. Now, whenever I hear that word, I visualize that tranquil scene. I didn't just memorize it, I experienced it.
That's the key, giving the word a visual or emotional home in your memory. That's why watching movies, reading books, or even listening to this podcast helps so much. You're learning vocabulary in a real-life setting.
Let's talk about a technique that's amazing for long-term memory: spaced repetition.
Yes, it's a method where you revisit words at increasing intervals, like reviewing it 1 day later, then 3 days later, then a week, and so on. Each review strengthens your recall.
Exactly. It's like reminding your brain right before it's about to forget, which makes the memory more solid. And the best part is, there are apps that do this for you.
Absolutely. Tools like Anki or Quizlet are amazing. They let you add words and remind you when to review them. It's like having your own personal English trainer.
Once you've used these tools for a while, the repetition becomes part of your routine. Eventually, you won't need reminders. The words will just come naturally.
Here's another tip. Personalize the word. Link it to your own life or something you've experienced.
Right? I remember learning the word adventurous. I tied it to my first solo trip abroad. Now, every time I hear it, I think of that memory. And the word sticks.
Same here. The word nostalgic always reminds me of looking through old family albums. That emotional tie really makes it unforgettable.
And if you can't make a personal link, you can always use funny visuals. The more bizarre, the better.
Oh yes, I once learned gregarious, which means very social, by imagining a guy named Greg throwing a wild party. Now, Greg is forever tied to that word in my brain.
Here's a big one. Use the word. If you don't use it, you lose it.
Exactly. The more you incorporate it into speaking or writing, even just talking to yourself, the more natural it feels.
When I learn a new word, I make it a goal to use it at least once a day for a week. In writing, speaking, whatever. It helps solidify the connection.
Memory aids, or mnemonics, are another fantastic way to remember tricky words.
One I use is for the word ubiquitous, which means everywhere. I just think ubiquitous is like air. It's everywhere. Silly, but effective.
I had the same with taciturn, which means quiet. I pictured a turtle who's too shy to talk. That visual has stuck for years.
Another strategy is grouping related words. Learn one base word and then explore all the words that come from it.
Like help leads to helper, helpful, and helpless. Learning these as a family gives you several new words at once.
And when you understand roots, you can guess meanings of new words more easily. It's like unlocking a secret code in the language.
Here's a fun one. Learn words through your hobbies and interests.
Yes, if you're into gaming, learn English through games. If you love food, read recipes. When the topic excites you, it doesn't even feel like studying.
Exactly. I love travel, so I watch English travel documentaries. I pick up tons of new phrases without even realizing it.
And our final tip, repetition and consistency. Make word review part of your routine.
It doesn't have to take hours. Just a few minutes a day is enough. You can even set a word of the day and try to use it in a sentence.
The goal is to make it consistent. That's what turns a word into second nature.
Wow, that was a lot of ground we covered. So many practical strategies to make sure those new words don't disappear.
Exactly. And now, let's hand it over to our vocabulary expert, Anna, who will walk us through the key words from today's episode.
Thanks, Emily and John. Hi, everyone. Let's take a look at some of the key words and phrases we discussed today. Hurdle, a difficulty to overcome. Example, learning new words can be a major hurdle for English learners. Inevitable, certain to happen. Example, it was inevitable that he'd forget the word without practice. Pumped, really excited. Example, I'm pumped for the concert tonight. Frustrating, causing annoyance due to difficulty. Example, it's frustrating when I forget words I studied yesterday. Struggling, having a hard time. Example, I've been struggling with pronunciation lately. Serendipity, a happy accident. Example, finding that article was total serendipity. Vanish, to disappear suddenly. Example, my confidence seemed to vanish during the test. Mastered, gained full control or understanding. Example, I've finally mastered the verb tenses. Locked in, firmly fixed in memory. Example, these words are locked in thanks to practice. Spaced repetition, a method to review words over time. Example, I use spaced repetition to make words stick. Second nature, something automatic due to practice. Example, grammar rules became second nature to me. Adventurous, open to new experiences. Example, he's adventurous and always tries new food. Nostalgic, feeling sentimental about the past. Example, that song makes me feel nostalgic. Gregarious, sociable, outgoing. Example, she's gregarious and loves big gatherings. Taciturn, reserved, quiet. Example, he's friendly but taciturn in large crowds. Consistency, regular, steady effort. Example, with consistency, progress becomes visible. Slip into conversation, to include naturally. Example, I always try to slip new words into conversation.
Thanks so much, Anna. That was super helpful. And before we wrap things up, We want to share even more strategies that can take your vocabulary to the next level.
One simple but highly effective technique is saying the words out loud. When you speak a word, you're engaging your ears, your mouth, and your brain, all at once.
Exactly. Instead of just reading the word in your head, say it several times in a sentence. For example, if the word is reliable, try saying, "My phone is really reliable," or "I need a reliable internet connection." Do this out loud, not just mentally.
When you pronounce the word yourself, it becomes more familiar. You're not just learning the meaning. You're training your mouth to say it and your ears to recognize it.
Another excellent tip is to record yourself using new words. It might feel awkward at first, but it's a powerful way to check your pronunciation and boost your confidence.
You could try a short voice memo each day. Just talk for a minute using the new word in a few different sentences. Then listen back and see how it sounds.
And over time, you'll actually hear your progress. Plus, it helps reinforce the word because you're thinking about it from multiple angles, meaning, pronunciation, and usage.
One of my personal favorite methods is teaching the word to someone else. When you explain the meaning, use it in a sentence and maybe even draw a little picture or create an example. It locks into your brain.
Absolutely. Teaching forces you to fully understand a word. And it doesn't have to be a real person. You can even teach it to your pet, a plant, or a stuffed animal. It sounds silly, but it works.
Let's talk about vocabulary notebooks. Not just lists of words, but creative ones. You can make your notebook visual and interactive.
Yes, divide your pages into categories: emotions, travel, work, food. Then write the word, its definition in simple English, a sentence, and maybe even draw a small picture or use color coding.
For example, highlight verbs in blue, adjectives in green, and nouns in red. The more playful and personal your notebook is, the more likely you are to use it.
Here's something that really deepens understanding. Use the word in different situations.
Yes, take the word generous. Don't just use it with people. Try, "That portion of food was generous," or "The company offered a generous refund policy."
When you stretch the word into different settings, your brain builds a stronger web of associations. It goes beyond memorizing. You're building true fluency.
Make learning fun by turning it into a game. Pick 5 new words each week and challenge yourself to use each one 3 times a day.
Keep a checklist, and every time you use a word, tick it off. At the end of the week, review and see how many of those words feel natural now.
Then, start a new list next week. If some words are still hard, keep them in the new list and add a few more.
Learning doesn't have to be lonely. Join an English-speaking group online. Take part in language exchanges, or even just chat in English comment sections.
Yes. When you use new vocabulary in real conversations with others, especially spontaneously, you strengthen your memory like nothing else.
And here's an important mindset shift. It's not about how many words you learn, but how well you learn and remember them.
Exactly. Learning 10 words deeply, really knowing how to use them, is far more valuable than memorizing 50 words you'll forget by next week.
So let's quickly review what we added today. Say words out loud. Record yourself. Teach the words. Create fun vocabulary notebooks. Use words in different contexts. Set challenges. Practice in communities. Focus on depth over speed.
These extra tips, combined with what we discussed earlier, form a full toolbox for vocabulary mastery.
And remember, if you want to keep these tips handy, don't forget to download the free PDF. It includes everything we talked about, plus all the key vocabulary Anna reviewed.
Thanks again for listening to the #1 English podcast. Keep practicing, make it fun, and don't be afraid to play with the language.
Your English journey is unique and amazing, and we're here to support you every step of the way. See you in the next episode.
Take care and happy learning.